All right, and welcome back to the Vegas Squares podcast. We are back in studio after Sunday. The NFL slate has pretty much been completed. We are waiting on the Monday night game at this point. If you are listening on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, it is Monday. And we have just completed the first week of a new edition of our week-long, or excuse me, of our season-long bet. We did exactly zero research for this week's picks. And I don't remember exactly even who I picked this week, so I'm actually curious more so to see how we ended up in these week standings. I got Spike on one seat, Token Tony on the other seat, and like Nathan Peterman, I think without doing any game prep, we may have improved our average. He actually threw 3 picks and improved his QB rating, his career QB rating this week.
God damn.
It's impressive, isn't it?
I just don't get this guy whatsoever. What do the people in Buffalo see in him?
That's always the question.
What has the front office seen in him to keep him in uniform?
You know what the better question is they are legitimately not hiding a full-blown tank, and yet John Gruden gets the scrutiny. The Bills are getting off scot-free. They are in full-blown tank.
Well, they've won 2 games. I think that's kind of...
Well, they accidentally won the game against Minnesota. They got short fields. They scored 0 points in the second half. The Titans game, you're right, is a mystery. I don't know how. The thing is players are going to play, and eventually you're going to get one. I mean, not everybody can be as bad as your 0-16 Lions. So even at 2-14 or 2-14 or whatever they end up being, it's still going to be a top 2 to 3 draft pick. The question is there anything really in the college football landscape at quarterback that really warrants that as like it did last year? Because, they have Josh Allen. If they thought there was something coming out next year, because Tua Tagovailoa is not coming out, so what are you going to use that top 3 pick on if you're who's the Bills coach, McDermott?
Yeah, and I mean if they don't see something they want in the top 3, they got to trade down. You trade down.
Get more picks.
Yeah, and that's the Belichickian way, and that seems to have worked. So if they want to copy their AFC East rival, then that would be the thing to do.
Yeah, I think that would be a good spot to do that.
So I had a nice little Twitter battle here before you guys got to the studio with a guy who said that Josh Gordon has been a bust in New England. Anybody care to chime in on that one? My response was...
Who the hell said that?
I don't know. You never know who's on Twitter. But my point being is for a 5th-round pick, the guy has 85 yards in 5 games and 3 touchdowns for a 5th-round pick.
I mean,
and he didn't really even play the first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
in fairness, the guy's Twitter handle said he was from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, okay, so he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine then.
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but he did say Josh Gordon has made 3 good plays in 4 years, and I said, that's ironically how many wins you have in 4 years. So I think that was the mic drop on Homeboy. So if you're listening out there, I forget his Twitter name. I don't want to give him any pub, but I do kind of at the same time. Anyways, if you're listening out there, you feel free to retweet the podcast when it comes out on Twitter. Anyways, before we dive into the games, which is obviously what we do here on Mondays and Sundays, it is our recap show. Anything jump out at you two gentlemen in Week 9 of the NFL, just as a general whole? General whole.
We saw 2 quarterbacks win today with under 150 yards passing, which I thought is pretty rare, especially considering one of those was Mitch Trubisky, and his Bears were able to put up over 40 points today.
And Peterman had more yards passing than he did.
Yeah, so it's a little unusual to see a quarterback win by such a gigantic margin and look really pedestrian doing it.
Well, 2 defensive touchdowns obviously helps.
Oh, yeah.
That would have made it 27-9. Another fumble sets up Jordan Howard's 11-yard touchdown. That makes it 20-9. It's a little bit closer in that spot.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't say the Bears impressed me.
Yeah, minus their 3 defensive pretty much scores. I mean,
yeah, effectively. The thing that stood out to me was I was pretty impressed that Spike almost called the Jets-Dolphins score. He said I believe it to be about 9-6.
Yep,
he's pretty damn close.
Yeah, and that was they had that one sneaky touchdown going, or the pick six on Darnold or something.
Mm-hmm. That was it.
That that screwed it up. Otherwise, I pretty much had it.
Yeah. So we are brought to you by 12 Ounce Sports Radio. We are on every Monday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thank you very much to the folks over there for putting our dribble on every week, 4 times a week. Also, we are sponsored by VGK Pop Sockets and ChaiPoker.com. So, all right, well, without further ado, I guess we'll just start with the games in Week 9. And looking at the slate I'm looking at now, we will start that Bears-Bills game. And not really starting off with a humdinger, so let's get the shit out of the way. Let's wade through the flies. 41-9. You called it. You didn't know how the Bills would score, and I told you. The only way they'd score is through the uprights, and that's all they can do. In the last, 2 weeks, they've got 18 points.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, they're on average, or on pace for 6 touchdowns.
No, they actually got a touchdown.
Yeah, Peterman ran one.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
He didn't throw it.
They're probably still on pace for 6 touchdowns this year.
And I don't know if they missed the extra point or if they went for 2 and didn't get it. I don't know how they didn't get the full 7 on that one, because I know they sure as shit didn't get a safety on Trubisky.
I'm curious about that myself. It's, at some point, I'd be willing to bet they missed the extra point. Let's see. They got kicking stats here. Kicking stats. He didn't even attempt one, so they had to go for 2.
Fair enough. Like it even mattered at that time.
No, I know, but it's just funny at that point. That puts Buffalo at 2-7. Chicago is now in the lead of the NFC North at 5-3. A team in Chicago that's given up 50 points less than everybody else in the NFC North. I mean, not to disrespect this game here, there's not really much to talk about. There's 2 defensive touchdowns. Jordan Howard had another pedestrian day with the exception of finding the end zone twice. And Tariq Cohen really had no effect. He had a total of 13 yards. Like you said, without those 2 defensive scores, the Bears didn't look great, but their defense showed up. But again, it's Buffalo.
Yeah, and that's sort of the thing, is that when you have a defense that's as good as Buffalo, or as good as Chicago's is, going against an offense as incompetent as Buffalo's is, you don't need the Chicago offense to do much, and they didn't. And that was still good enough to win, and that, a win is a win is a win in this league.
Do you guys believe, and I'm only judging this just based on the last 3 weeks I've seen, so we have Nathan Peterman, 8 carries, 46 yards. Obviously, a quarterback's rushing stats are a little different because most of the time they're not designed runs. But you have Chris Ivory, 7 carries, 36 yards, 5.1 average. And you have LaShawn McCoy, 10 carries, 10 yards. I'm starting to believe that the offensive line for Buffalo has some vendetta against LaShawn McCoy. For the last
Really?
for the last 3 weeks, he has averaged 1.6 yards per carry,
Ooh.
while Chris Ivory has averaged 4.2. And I understand the whole LaShawn McCoy offseason hitting his girlfriend thing. I'm just starting to wonder if maybe they call a play for 25 and everybody's like, oh, break time, union break.
Time for lunch.
Anybody?
I don't know. I mean, it's not something I've thought about, but it's certainly interesting to think.
Kind of seems like it could be plausible. I mean,
I don't know if, I know LaShawn likes to dance, but I've seen he's averaged 1.6 yards a carry over the last 3 games. That's just not good.
Yeah, no, that's terrible, especially for somebody that's supposed to be the offensive weapon on this team.
Exactly. Damn, I'm getting caught up in here.
Yeah.
All this great football that was played in Buffalo today.
Besides the kicker in Buffalo.
Well, what did the kicker do?
Okay, actually make some field goals.
He made one.
Yeah,
It's the only time he probably got in the vicinity of making a field goal. Anyways, so you have Chicago coming up. They're 5-3. They, like I said, they lead the division. Not going to worry about Buffalo's schedule here, but you have Chicago, who basically is now getting ready to go into the meat and potatoes of the NFC North. This is really going to be the 3-game stretch that matters. Right now, you got the Lions next week, who are 3-5.
That is correct.
And you have the Vikings, who are 5-3-1. So effectively, a half game. Are they 5-3-1?
Yeah.
So they're effectively a half game back as ahead. I mean,
I
guess they're only behind.
They're tied, but they're higher percentage. So that's how it's rolled.
Chicago has a game in hand at that point, or correct?
The game in hand, yeah.
Yeah. So to use a hockey term, But you got Lions, Vikings, and then you got Lions in the Dome on not Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving.
That's always a big game.
What do we see? I mean, we got a playoff push here with the Bears, which a lot of people didn't expect. And now you've got, I mean, this is kind of like you said, we said the stepping stone to where this season's going to go. If they go 0-3, they're 5-6. They're probably looking up at the division. But if they are 3-0 in that spot, the Packers game and the Vikings game at the end of the year may or may not matter at that point.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think they just have to worry one game in front of them at a time, do the Belichick approach, and see what happens from there.
Do you ever worry about a team where their leading rusher is their secondary running back?
Sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, Tariq Cohen is their leading rusher with 399 yards.
Not necessarily. It's sometimes a product of the play calling, and play calling can be very situationally based. And sometimes it's just a product of good defenses prepare for your number one superstar, so you have to rely on the number two to get the job done.
Fair assessment. I don't know if the Bears really have a number one superstar, though. Unless this Sunday it was Nathan Peterman. So, yeah, not too much. I wouldn't say too much takeaway from the Bears. I mean, if anything, going on the road and the offense really looking a little bit sputtery could be cause for concern. But I wouldn't put too much emphasis into it.
No, and I mean, they scored nothing in the first quarter, which was a little strange, but then 28 in the second, field goal in the third, and then 10 points in the fourth quarter to finish it out. They're putting up points, and they're putting them up in chunks. So, however they get them, they get them.
That's true.
Yeah, part to do with the defense too. I mean,
well, the 28-point quarter was two pick sixes, or one fumble return and one pick.
Yeah.
But actually, to be honest with you, on that pick that Nathan Peterman threw for the pick six wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
It bounced right off the receiver's hands and into the Bears guy. All right, let's move on. Chiefs and Browns.
Oh, don't you want to know how we picked on this one?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I skipped all of that. You know what?
We even skipped the Monday night game.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk Monday night.
You guys got to keep me on my toes, man.
This matchup of Tennessee and Dallas. But
do we really want to talk about the matchup of Tennessee and Dallas?
Absolutely
not. It starts
in
5 minutes.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could remind everybody of our picks.
All right, remind them of the Monday night picks.
All right, for our Monday night picks, Token Tony has under the total 40.5. Aaron, you took Tennessee +3. I went Dallas money line.
All right.
And I have no idea what to make about that. I actually should have used that as my blind bet, but I used that on a game played on Sunday.
All right, well, then I guess we'll rewind the tape and recap our season-long bet. And like I said, like I always say every podcast, if you're living under a rock and don't know how this goes, Spike is here to inform and educate.
Yes, so this is a bet where for every game, Sunday or Monday, we have to pick some side of it, whether it's against the spread, a total, or a money line bet. We get a lock where we can say this game is absolutely going to win. We have a blind bet, one of those games where we just don't know how it's going to go. Normal games are worth 1 point if you get it right. You lose one if you get it wrong. Lock is 3 points either way. The blind bet is 2 points if you get it right, nothing if you get it wrong. And to start this week, going into week 9, I was in dead last place at -1 point. Aaron was in the lead with 26 points. Token Tony right in the middle at 23. So the two of you up on top, and I'm trying to play catch up here for the last the second half of the season.
Men.
I was wondering how long you were going to go with that. And
I saw you try to speed the tempo up and throw me off. All right.
So for this Chicago game, why don't we? I'll get to these picks and then we can start the podcast like normal fucking human beings. This was.
Go ahead.
This was the biggest spread of the week at 10.5 points when we were picking it. Token, you actually went under the total of 37.5, which Chicago beat by themselves.
Due in part to their defense as well.
Aaron, you took Buffalo plus the 10.5. The big spread at home. You as a dog
needed to be 50.5.
Yeah, that was not good. My lock of the week: Chicago -10.5. Gave me plus 3 points for this game.
Congratulations, sir. Did that pull you out of under par?
Oh yeah, no, I did significantly better than both of you combined this week.
Good. Maybe we should stop doing research so you have a chance. To
Yeah, I didn't do any research this week either.
When I said we, I meant you too.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we are not starting off on the right foot, but Spike hits his lock of the week in the first game. All right, now we can move on to Chiefs-Browns?
Yeah, why not?
All right, cool, because this game actually stayed pretty close for a while. The Browns seemed to keep it in contention, but the Chiefs' firepower is just incredible on the offensive side of the ball. Once I saw Kareem Hunt take a screen pass broken play for 50 yards, I figured, yeah, the Browns stand no chance. So let's recap the picks.
So in this one, Token and I were on the same side, Kansas City minus the 8 points. And Aaron decided to go under the total of 52.
Yeah, you didn't think the Browns would put up that many points, so.
Yeah, Kansas City helped you out. They tried to do their part for you, but
I actually thought this game would be like 35-14, and it just a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cleveland. Yeah, you guys can't do anything right. But all right, let's look at the game. I mean, offensively, both teams played pretty well. Defensively, on the side of the ball, I mean, it's hard to really knock Cleveland because no one else really has been able to contain Kansas City on offense. Kareem Hunt, another big ass fucking day, 3 touchdowns and 141 yards of all-purpose. Yeah, Travis Kelce. It's. I mean, look at it. If it's not Travis Kelce, it's Tyreek Hill. If it's not Tyreek Hill, it's Sammy Watkins or it's Kareem Hunt. I mean, you just can't stop this offense.
There's too many weapons. Yeah.
What do you do with this team? I mean, how legitimately? I mean, it's easy to say, well, you know, New England beat them, but they gave up 40 points.
That's exactly how you beat.
You fight
score
fire
42.
Fire.
Yeah, you just score more than them. You play Big 12 football and just hope for the best.
It's amazing how Andy Reid has been able to adapt from one quarterback who was legitimately labeled a game manager and conservative to a guy who literally throws rockets through the air without wanted concern for where they go half the time. 23 of 32, 375, 3 TDs. He had a pick, but it was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half, so effectively, that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, we saw Baker Mayfield come in. He played pretty decently. Threw a costly turnover when they were in the red zone. But I'd say he's getting better by the day, or better by the week, but at the same time, I mean, he's still stuck in Cleveland. Nick Chubb did pretty well as far as, 22 carries, 85 yards, not great average, but he did punch one in.
Wasn't too bad, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was 21-15 at halftime, and then that was it, pretty much. I mean, that was all you could really write for Cleveland. I mean, they're just missing weapons.
Well, I mean, the big story for me in this game is Duke Johnson finally being a part of this offense.
Well, yeah, that's true, too. I mean, he was, for a long time, apparently he was in Todd Haley's doghouse for no reason.
Maybe because his name is Duke, and it actually sounds like a dog's name? So he's in the dog house? No?
It's a stretch. And I will tell you this. I was watching football here with Des, and I don't think she knew who Nick Chubb was. And so I have Nick Chubb on my fantasy team, and when they were down in the red zone, I said, "Give me Chubb, give me Chubb, give me Chubb." And I think she was very confused because I was watching football and asking for a boner. So I think now she knows who Nick Chubb is.
For your sake, I hope that's true.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But anyways, well, Cleveland keeps rolling, and now we have a matchup. Facing the Chiefs with the Rams. Unfortunately, Chiefs aren't going to have a chance to knock them off, but we'll talk about that game in a little bit. Not a lot of action other than that, really. I mean, what do you say besides train keeps rolling? Okay, see, that's my point.
Yeah, and this is sort of what we're going to expect from Kansas City. The only question left with Kansas City right now is, do they falter at any point to give the Chargers a chance to win the AFC West?
Oof, that's the thing. I mean, like we'll talk about it later with the Chargers. I mean, they're keeping pace. I mean, they have lost 2. The problem is the Chargers are 2 games back because of the loss they already have.
Right.
So even if the Chargers walk into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, that will still leave the Chiefs in 3rd place. provided both teams are 9-2 or whatever at that point. So they got to win 2, which, I mean, like at this point, doesn't seem likely unless you're able to put up 40 points a game. And we'll see. So, all right, well, let's move forward to the Jets and Dolphins. And this is a game you almost accurately predicted as a 9-6 score, which could have very well been there if Sam Darnold didn't decide that his favorite color was teal today, throwing 4 interceptions, one of which wasn't his fault, but the other 3 were pretty bad. I actually watched more of this game than I'm proud of. Thank you, Red Zone Channel. I don't know why you do that. But,
yeah, that was bizarre. That was really, really strange.
But Brock Osweiler decided to win a game only throwing for 139 yards.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And the rushing attack only getting 64.
Yeah, this is...
It's just an ugly game. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you really say about it? A lot of ugly football Sunday.
Yeah, you know, first quarter and third quarter, no score on either side.
And 10 and 9 points in the other quarter.
Yeah, just...
Yeah,
God.
the good news if you're a Dolphins fan, they contain the Jets with their defense and just gave up little by little, but nothing huge. So,
Find me a silver lining if you're a Jets fan.
Darnold threw for 229? Even with the 4 pick? I don't know. I legitimately don't know what else you can say.
My theory was you only lost by 7 when your quarterback threw 4 picks.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, to have 5 total turnovers and only lose by 7 points, they got to feel good about the building blocks of their defense. And if you're Miami, you received 5 turnovers, and I don't think they had any turnovers themselves. So you won the battle. You won the turnover battle by 5 and only could win by 7. And that was a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, and this was just such an ugly game. And I don't know. And the line actually moved from last night, or from Saturday night when we made our picks till Sunday morning when the game actually kicked off. We had it as a total of 42 and a line of 2.5. It moved to a total of 43. The line moved to Miami minus the 3. Which didn't matter, I mean, either way, because it came under by 24 points, and Miami covered by 4. So
what did we have on this? Because I think I was wrong.
yes, you were wrong. You had the New Jersey Jets minus the 1. Token took the Jets plus 2.5. Token had Miami minus the 2.5, so he got the point. I took under 42, and I never
had a sweat.
never had a sweat in this one.
Yeah. That's sad, but fun at the same time. All right, let's move forward to the Lions and the Vikings. I will let Spike give us the picks, and Token, you can defend your offensive line.
So you two actually took Detroit plus 5 points in this game.
God damn it.
And the line moved to 4.5 by the time it kicked off. It didn't matter at all for us. I saw a confident Lions fan sitting across from me, and I very quickly went to Minnesota minus the 5. And I
Spike,
that
man.
one.
Spike's sit on his high fucking horse today.
I am so goddamn arrogant today. I missed 2 games all Sunday. This is one of those weeks where I wish I had bet more than I did, and I made good money today on the picks that I made.
All right, well, we had the Lions. Stafford got sacked 10 times. Explain yourself, Token.
You can't just shake your head on the radio.
It doesn't
work.
translate.
I know you're exacerbated as a Lions
I'm
fan.
speechless. Well, that doesn't make for a good podcast, sir.
One good news about the special teams line is they can contain Martin from being blocked. So he had 5 punts. Sam Martin, the punter, for 222 yards. But yeah, Stafford just getting sacked so much. I mean, he just couldn't find any open people. I think maybe part to do the Golden Tate trade or something.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a good point, yeah.
we talked about that with the team. I mean, you know, I was really high early in the week on the fact that Golden Tate was gone. I mean, I didn't realize how much it would affect Detroit. I actually thought, for as much as it was, you know, so good for the Eagles, I was thinking Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay would still be able to do something.
I think when they got rid of Golden Tate, Theo Riddick stepped up his weaponry like he used to, because he had 7 receptions for 36 yards. But, I mean, he's not going to be able to break tackles like Tate does. So, that's one cause for concern.
Well, I mean, the other...
Not the 10 sacks that you gave up.
That's definitely one of the causes for concern, too.
The zero running attack.
Yeah, I mean, my Kerryon Johnson play this week did not go well. 37 yards.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount, 5 carries, 8 yards. Ugh.
You know things aren't going well when your quarterback has to take a timeout to flush the rubber pellets out of his eyeball because he's been sacked so viciously.
That actually happened?
Yeah, I remember sitting there going, what's going on? I thought
that.
they knocked his contact out, and they're like, and then Siciliano on the Red Zone channel told me that they were picking rubber pellets out of his eye.
Oh.
How crazy is that? I mean, that's just Lions football.
I
right
have
then.
such a... it's not a phobia, but like a thing with eye. Like if I see... When I was living outside of Boston, flipping through the channels one day, I accidentally came across like a fucking medical surgery channel or something. And as soon as I turned it on, they were doing eyeball surgery. I had to call in sick to work the next day because I was still nauseated by what I had seen the day before from that like eyeball surgery thing.
Ugh.
It was horrifying. Horrifying.
Yeah, that can't feel good. All right, and not to pour, salt on the wound, you have Dalvin Cook finally come back. You keep him in check, minus the 170-yard run.
Yeah, and typical Lions, they give up one big play like that, and that could be like the difference maker in a game. But
hey, silver lining, you stopped Adam Thielen. He did not have a 100-yard game this week, which actually doesn't break the streak. It only ties him with Calvin Johnson. Maybe that's what you guys had to play for this week, not letting Calvin Johnson's record be broken.
who the fuck cares?
How is Calvin Johnson viewed in Detroit?
I'm actually happy that he's no longer, or at least he retired when he did. I think it kind of helped Matt Stafford gain some confidence instead of just throwing it up towards one guy in triple coverage and trying to see what would happen then.
That's not what I asked. I said, how do the fans view Calvin Johnson? It's like Barry Sanders disappeared. Calvin Johnson has just disappeared from your franchise.
Kind of split in half. Some people are glad that he's gone. Some people are missing him. So
by now he's 35. But
yeah, it's.
I'm just saying the last 6 years that he's been out for 6 years, right? 5, 6 years.
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Oh, I don't know.
He's got to be coming up, right?
Yeah, he's coming up. I would say borderline maybe sneaks in, but
I want to look at his stats.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd have to bring up his stats because for me, just off the jump, I don't know that he played long enough.
He played 10 years, right? No,
I think he played 8.
Let me find his stats here real quick. But all right, career stats: 11,619 yards and 83 touchdowns. In, what did we say, 2007 to 2015, so 9 years. 9 years, 11,000 yards, 83 touchdowns. I think he's like a Terrell Davis. What he did in a little bit of time, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
2-time leader in reception yards, 11 and 12. Leader in receptions, 12 and 13. Leader in touchdowns, 08, 09, and 12. And he has the NFL record for 1,964 yards in a season. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I think he sneaks.
So he retired in 2015, so he's still got a couple more years. The question is what could other people's stats look like in a couple years? 11,619 might not be the gold standard anymore. Anyways, so one last thing I wanted to get to on this game was actually the Lions going forward, because you are now what do we say, 3-5?
Yeah.
And are you ready for this? You're 3-5, right?
Yeah.
At Bears, home versus the Panthers, home versus the Bears, Rams, and then you got Cardinals, Bills. There's a strong chance you guys could be 3-9.
Think we lose against the Cardinals and the Bills?
No, but I think you lose the next 4 against Bears, Panthers, Bears, Rams.
I think we sneak out 1, maybe 2.
Okay, so you're 4-8. You're 5-7 at best at that point. You're out of the playoffs, correct? 9-7 in that division.
Unless if we're on the table at the end, I mean.
Well, if you're 5-7, the best you can be is 9-7.
Yeah.
9-7, that division.
Probably.
It's not going to be enough to win the division. Is that enough for a wild card, though?
Probably not. 10-6 is probably.
So sell Lions fans right now on any semblance of hope.
We have to win at least twice against the Bears and against the Panthers.
At least twice. You can't win any more.
Yeah.
Well, you tried.
Yeah.
All right.
That's going to be tough to get in because I think you got Seattle in the West and the loser of Carolina and New Orleans in the South vying for those 2 wild card spots. So, 9-7 is not going to do it for Detroit.
No, I think either win the division or finish in last.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's where you guys belong. All right.
It's the shitter.
Let's move to the next one here. We've got Falcons and Redskins. Falcons were 38-14 winners on the road, which I think is probably a shock to all of us because outside the Georgia Dome, they haven't looked very great this year. But they actually finally, probably in my opinion, put together a pretty complete game, even without Devonta Freeman. And Julio Jones finally found the end zone for the first time in almost a calendar year. As much as I say that's surprising, at the same time, it's like, they have so many weapons. Sometimes Julio gets lost in the shuffle. Let's remind the listeners of our picks, and then Spike, I'll let you talk.
So, this game, I took Washington money line because I just thought that the 1.5 point spread or 2 point spread, I'd rather just take the money line. I'll pay the juice at the window, which I did actually in this game. So I took that. The two of you actually used this game as your lock of the week. Token's lock of the week was Washington -2 points. Did not work out too well for him, but Aaron actually hit this one at over 48 lock of the week, which actually got bet down to 47 by the time the game kicked off. But either way, I think you were good by a few points there.
Just a couple. I needed that Julio touchdown to get there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so another good game by Matt Ryan, 350 and 4 touchdowns. Alex Smith, not a bad game, 306, 1 touchdown. A timely pick, which resulted in a cheap touchdown for Atlanta, which is okay because it got me the over. But the good news for Washington is they may have been able to find a receiver. For a couple straight weeks here, Maurice Harris has been targeted double-digit times. And I know that sounds crazy to think, but I mean, Washington realistically has not had anybody as a vertical threat this year.
Yeah, and that's one of the things moving forward for them is light to look forward to. I mean, Washington needs to look to find more ways to produce on their offense, and having that will definitely help. So,
yeah, I think for me the emergence, or not emergence, but what we've seen out of Tevin Coleman on Atlanta has just been fantastic.
It's been nice to see that when given the opportunity, he's a baller.
Yeah.
Now that Devontae's been out for the year.
Yeah, exactly. 88 yards on the ground, 68 through the air, 2 scores. Just, doing it in all phases of the game. Really, really nice weapon for Matty Ice. And Atlanta takes some of the pressure off Julio Jones and the rookie Calvin Ridley, and take some of the coverage off of them so that they can get free. And Ridley had a nice game with 71 yards and a score. Obviously, Julio getting into the end zone was big. Matty Ice is finding his groove. This NFC South moving towards the end of the season. I know I just said that it's New Orleans and Carolinas to win, but
4-4, they're not dead.
I was going to say, Atlanta can make some noise, and this could be a very interesting second half of the season with them playing those divisional games.
Speaking of interesting, I think that the question comes up here in the offseason is, you just paid Devonta Freeman, and now are you going to pay 2 backs? Are you going to pay big money for Coleman, or are you going to try to trade Freeman? Or Coleman's, 1, been able to show that he can stay healthy, and 2, being able to show that he's just as effective in both facets of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting decision for the general manager and the front office for Atlanta. I don't know what they can do. I don't know their cap situation offhand, so I don't know that they can afford to pay the 2 backs. If they can, they might want to keep them. And make their offense a little more two-dimensional than it has been the last couple of years. But if not, then I think they can run with Coleman and be fine.
Yeah, no doubt. 13 carries, 88 yards against a defense that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a graphic that they were second in the league in defense, only giving up 80 per game. And they actually gave up 154 all day. I mean, Ito Smith, 6 yards a carry, 60 yards, 6 yards a carry average. Washington really couldn't get anything going. Adrian Peterson has games like this, 9 carries, 17 yards, where he just can't get anything going. And that's, kind of a testament to, this this offense is just kind of one-dimensional when there's no threat of a downfield pass.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment on that, and that's what they need to look forward to is Maurice Harris's production and see what they can utilize with that.
Yeah, I got to imagine Washington next year in the draft or in free agency has to address downfield receiving. I thought they would have addressed it with Paul Richardson, the guy who they plucked from Seattle, who was kind of their deep threat, but, Seattle receivers have notoriously not been great with the exception of Golden Tate. So, anyways, let's move on. Fitzmagic and the Buccaneers fall to the Panthers 42-28. Actually, this is probably the game I watched the most, obviously. But defensive inefficiencies and offensive line plays led to the Panthers being up 35-7 before anyone even blinked an eye. Christian McCaffrey, another great game, 79 yards. I know Spike says it's not the results he expects out of McCaffrey, but this is what you get: 79 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then I believe he had another 70 or 80 yards through the air as well. 150 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey is finally finding his groove in this offense.
Yeah, and that's what they needed, because otherwise Cam Newton is consistently their number one runner, and they got to be able to keep him more in the backfield to keep him healthy. So having McCaffrey being able to carry so many times and putting up good yardage doing it really, really helps this offense and presumably Newton's career.
Yeah, most definitely. He's a career 54% passer, and this year he's already miles ahead of that. He's 68% this year in the regular season. So, that has a lot to do with it as well. I remember in the offseason and last year when Kelvin Benjamin said he would have been a more effective receiver if his quarterback could get him the ball. Well, while Cam may have been offended, he may have actually listened to what Kelvin Benjamin said, because when you're going from 54 to 68, that's huge in terms of percentage. All right. Well, I thought there'd be some talk on that.
I thought I saw Token moving to the mic, so that's why I
Did you watch football today?
Some.
I don't think he watched a lick of football.
Were you sleeping all day? Is that the problem? Because
we texted, we were texting back and forth, and you had no response. Hey, Token, forgot to set your lineup. No response. I don't think you watched football today.
I watched mainly the only game I pretty much watched
was Sunday night.
Was the Sunday night game? Yeah.
All right, so Spike and I are going to take over this episode for the next probably 25 to 30 minutes. Let's recap the picks. I had a feeling about 3 games ago when we were going through this. I'm like, I don't think he watched football.
Yeah, I was starting to get that impression as well. So this game we were all on some part of Tampa Bay. Token and I both took Tampa Bay plus the 6.5. This game actually got bet down to 6, but we had 6.5. Aaron went a little more ballsy, took Tampa Bay money line. All of us bricked that, but I will say that between Tampa Bay, the game that we just covered, and the Washington Redskins, only 2 games I got wrong on our picks for this week.
Fair enough. However, I was close to nailing Tampa Bay's score, too. Wasn't that a prop bet?
Tampa Bay score?
Yeah, I said they would score 26. Did you not write that down?
I remember saying that, yeah.
I also said they would win, too, so it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about it. I didn't get it right. So
I was going to say, I don't think I wrote it down.
Fitzpatrick, 2 interceptions. One was not his fault. One was just a bad overthrow. It looked like the receiver ran the wrong route, but again, I don't know. Not trying to defend Fitzpatrick too much because he didn't have that great of a game, but I still believe the offense is more potent and has a lot more life when he is the quarterback than Jameis Winston. So,
yeah, without a doubt. Jameis Winston is all over the place. He's not NFL caliber at this point, maybe as a backup, but Fitzpatrick just makes that offense click so much better. Team believes in him, the locker room believes in him, and at this point, I think Winston being on the field is only going to happen if Fitzpatrick gets hurt from here on out.
And I'm starting to believe that most of these guys in Tampa, including the coach and the general manager, realize they will not be here next year.
Oh, yeah.
The only one I would say is probably overwhelmingly safe. Actually, I would say two players that are overwhelmingly safe is Mike Evans and Adam Humphries. I think I watched Adam Humphries today and over the last couple weeks. He is turning into Julian Edelman. And not that Julian Edelman's all world-class receiver, but he's a fantastic slot receiver who is the one of the great safety valves. You know, you got a speedy, shifty guy who can get into little areas and catch footballs. He doesn't drop footballs. And that's key.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's one of those things that every team needs, and there's so few good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think you're right. I haven't paid nearly as much attention to the Buccaneers as you have, but if Humphries is that kind of guy, then management would be stupid to let him go.
Right, I agree with you on that one. We went over the picks, so let's move on to a very depressing game for me, and that's the Steelers and the Ravens. The Steelers were able to win 23-16, pushing their record to 5-2-1, and really taking, even though the Bengals are 5-3, really taking such a class stranglehold in this division when all looked very bleak. Week 2, when they were 0-1-1, and I believe the sky was falling, and
Tomlin was going to be fired.
Yeah, Tomlin's going to be fired. You know, Le'Veon Bell's Jesus Christ. But I liked Tomlin's comment earlier this week when someone asked him about Le'Veon Bell. He basically came out, and you know, we look for this from our sports athletes, and then when they finally do it, we get so shocked and awed. Basically, and I'm just paraphrasing here. When asked about Le'Veon Bell, Mike Tomlin said, "We need volunteers, we need soldiers, not hostages." And I guess what he's saying is basically we're not going to have a guy who feels like he's going to play the victim and hold our team accountable. So they're ready to move on. I mean, they've been ready for probably a couple of weeks, but I think finally with the vocal cutting of the cord, the Steelers can finally probably play a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Without a cloud hanging up. A little more relaxed, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, the monkey's off the back for sure.
Yeah,
whoa, that's racist. So, anyways, how'd we do?
Yeah, no, that's.
Let's not let that hang.
Yeah.
Also racist.
Yeah, we're getting into trouble on this one. Thank God we don't actually have bosses. Boss is
also racist.
Token took over 47 in this game. Clearly, that was a swing and a miss. Aaron, your last-ditch effort to tail Baltimore, taking them at -2.5. The game actually got bet down to -1.5 by kickoff. But you were -2.5. That missed. I took Pittsburgh plus the 2.5.
Look at this fucker. He's got a boner under the table. James Conner, 24 carries, 107 yards, 4.5-yard average. Kind of makes him really forget. I mean, this is the number one defense in the league here, and
forget who?
Exactly. Forget Le'Veon.
Yeah, and there was a while where Baltimore was only giving up 10 or 11 points a game, and the last few weeks they've been consistently giving up 20s, 30s. So this is a different defense. I don't know what's happened to Baltimore's defense. I don't know if they've been figured out by other offenses or what, but very, very strange to see.
And your offense can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
Eventually, the best defenses are going to give up points if they're on the field consistently.
Yeah, and Flacco going 23 of 37 for 209, no scores, no picks. That's just not going to get the job done.
Yeah, following a week 4 loss to the Ravens, the Steelers were 1-2-1 and had a 12% chance to make the playoffs. After the win today, they are 5-2-1 and live projections now give them an 89% to reach the postseason.
Oof.
Holy cow, what a flip, eh?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Almost completely opposite, yeah.
Speaking of flips, if the season continues to trend downward, which it could because the Baltimore Ravens are 4-5, they have the Bengals coming up next at home. If they lose that one, they're 4-6. Then they have a 3-game stretch where they go Falcons, Chiefs, and Chargers out of 5 games, all on the road.
Oof.
And say that doesn't go well. I mean, say they finish the year 8-8. Is Harbaugh gone?
He was asked about that before kickoff on Sunday, and he said that he hasn't listened to rumors. He's felt good about the way the team's been coached over the last 11 years, especially this year.
Has he been there that long?
Yeah, that's
11 years.
That's what they were saying. Which
Doesn't seem like it.
That doesn't seem like. Hold on, I gotta fact check that one.
But I don't know. I mean,
could be true though.
Is it? Do you look at Harbaugh or do you look at Flacco?
I think you look at both, but
I know, but which one? If you're going to get rid of one, which one is it?
Yeah, it's been this is the 10th year. He was hired in 2008. So
2000. If he was hired in 08.
So 08 to 18 was that 11? Is that 11 years?
That would be 11.
This would be the 11th year. Wow, holy cow! I would not have guessed he has been the coach for 11 years.
Yeah, neither would I. But
oh no, I think you move on from Flacco first, and then see what happens, and
see what he can do with Jackson, or
whoever,
let him draft somebody. Yeah.
Well, I would imagine they're going to give Jackson in a couple of years, but I mean, like I said, 4-5. Say they beat the Bengals, they go 5-5. They beat the Raiders 6-5. Then they go 6-7 after they lose to the Falcons and the Chiefs and the Chargers. It makes them 6-8. That's what I'm saying. I mean, this is shaping up to be an 8-8 season. I mean, I just don't know if that's good enough because I thought they'd be better, so I want him fired. I don't know if it's just like you said with Flacco. It's not that I don't think he's playing bad. I think they have really virtually no running game.
That's true. I will say that
ever since Justin Forsett left, they've got no running game. That was 5 years. That was 5 years ago.
They have no running game. Even the offensive weapons, around them, like Michael Crabtree, Willie Snead, Mark Andrews, like these aren't big superstar type names.
No.
But, the little I did see of this game, Flacco was consistently underthrowing receivers. He wasn't hitting them in stride. They kept having to break routes to come back for the ball. Usually that gave the defender enough time to either get back to knock it away, or if the receiver did make the catch, they were short of the first down marker, or they weren't able to get yards after the catch.
They gave up little piece by little piece.
Yeah, that's always one thing when I see offenses run routes where only one guy runs past the sticks.
Yeah,
I understand underneath routes and your running back's fine, but when you have 3 wide receivers set and only one guy runs 2 or past the sticks, that's a problem.
Yeah,
unless if you're like second and long or something where you're trying to gain some.
I'm talking about third down conversions. Yeah. I mean, they always wonder why teams on third down only converting 50% of the time. Well, you don't run to the sticks. I mean, maybe I'm just that's why it's on the outside because I don't understand why not getting a first down seems to be a positive thing. But color me crazy. But Baltimore is 4-5, and they're just average at home. And the problem is, I believe they're 1-3 in division.
Yes,
I believe they're 1-3 in the division,
so
that's a problem as well. So they're definitely setting themselves behind the 8 ball. So if John Harbaugh is not worried, I think he better start. So we already recapped how we did on this one, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's move forward to the later games. And Texans-Broncos. This one really kicks me right in the dick because not only did Spike win, it was on a heartbreaking loss that should have given me the victory.
Yeah, well, I would have pushed if you had won because when we were picking...
Push is 0 points, and I would have gotten 1.
it was Denver minus the 1 point. Token was on Houston money line. I was on Houston +1. Which is why, even if the field goal had hit, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, you would have pushed.
I wouldn't have minded the push. Aaron, Denver money line.
How do you push that field goal? That just doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, that's not great. You should know better at home, knowing how those wins would affect things. But this was
sometimes they just roll up around and all that, especially in Denver.
I love the opening line of this recap. For the first time in his career, Demaryius Thomas celebrated Brandon McManus missing a field goal. I mean, it was 51 yards. according to the recap here, there was no wind on the field when he attempted it.
Wow. So he just missed it.
He just bricked.
Yeah, I will say the one thing I did get wrong about this game is I didn't think Demaryius Thomas would be a factor at all. And even with 3 receptions.
That first screenplay for like 30-something yards or whatever, 31 yards was opened up pretty well.
Yeah, and I didn't expect him to, if he got anything, I didn't expect many yards out of him. But 3 receptions for 61 yards total, that's a lot more than I expected to see out of him.
Yeah, ugly game, not a lot to take of it. However, I did lose this game. I did lose a point. But tell them what I've won.
You did hit your bold prediction of the week. Case Keenum, who had previously thrown an interception in every single game thus far, did not throw one this week. So you did get, 2 points for that
So
one.
I actually did profit from this game.
Yes.
Even though McManus bricked a 51-yard field goal.
Yeah, this is the Houston team that I expected to see at the beginning of the season.
But this was the thing I was telling you a couple weeks ago. These are the kind of wins they're going to get.
Oh, yeah.
They're not a blow-you-out team, whereas even though they showed that against the Dolphins, which we know a little bit more about the Dolphins after this week, they're a team that's going to have close victories, going to rely on, I would say timely hitting in baseball, but timely
tackles and
timely offense. Let's call it that. Timely offense, because they didn't do anything. Lamar Miller, 1.8 yards a carry. Alfred Blue, 2.6 over a course of 27 carries. Those aren't good.
No.
And Deshaun Watson, who used to throw for 350 and 5 touchdowns in his rookie career, this is more of him. 17 to 24, 213, 2 touchdowns, a 53 QBR. But it's good enough to win, and it's good enough to put your team in a position to win. And that's a lot of times when you don't have a franchise marquee quarterback like Brady Rodgers. All you ask of your quarterback is to put you in a chance to win football games, and he did.
Yeah, and, this AFC South picture is looking a little clearer that it's Houston's to lose at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we have to see what Tennessee is up to on the Monday night game, but right now with Houston sitting at 6-3, the Titans would be and are currently in second place, but if they win the Monday night game, then they move to 4-4. So
it'll be a game and a half back.
Yeah. That's it's going to make, again, for an interesting...
It should be a half a game back because they do have the win so far against Houston.
Yeah, but, the Colts can't quite count them out, but Jacksonville, I don't know, man.
Jacksonville's got an identity crisis right now with everybody hurt.
Yeah.
And...
trading away, what's his name there?
Dante Fowler, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
The thing that doesn't scare me about Tennessee is the fact that through 7 games, they've put up 106 points. So that doesn't truly really scare me about Tennessee. I say Houston should feel good at 6-3 right now, even if the Titans win and feel at 4-4. They do get to play each other in 2 weeks on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. They do have to go to the Redskins next week, which even though the Falcons kind of dismantled them, that is a tough game. But their schedule lines up perfectly for Houston right now. They've got the Redskins, then they go Titans, Browns, Colts, all at home.
Ooh.
And then they have at Jets, at Eagles, home versus Jaguars to wrap it up. So, other than what the Eagles could be in Week 16, he's laughing.
Sorry, I just took a quick peek ahead to the Week 10 early lines. The Rams are currently an 11.5-point favorite over Seattle, and they are not the biggest spread of the week thus far.
I'll have to take a look at the...
if we have time, I want to get to that at the end of the
Yeah, we'll talk about some little more. But the Texans, that fourth-place schedule is shaping up to be beneficial for them coming down the stretch here. All right, where are we at here? We got Chargers, and you talked about the Seahawks. We got Chargers and Seahawks. Russell Wilson has finally lost to an AFC opponent, and they looked pretty bad overall today. The Chargers just look like a good team. And, the thing is we've been bitten by the Chargers before. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but this Chargers team, if the Kansas City Chiefs did not exist, looks like the AFC frontrunner for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd go that far, but Phillip Rivers is quietly having a really good season.
Not San Diego. I think in L.A. they would give the Patriots a game. Again, it's in L.A., but...
Yeah, well, I mean,
They look more offensively dynamic.
that would require people to show up to give them home field advantage, which they're not doing.
Play that one in San Diego.
Yeah.
See if anybody comes. Melvin Gordon came back, 113 yards on 16 carries and a touchdown. Keenan Allen finally showed up this year. I mean, it seemed like he had just been sputtering. 6 catches, 124 yards. Nothing too crazy. Get in, get out, get a win. They really were never tested. 19-10 at half, but they took the lead and really held on. Chris Carson kind of reverted back to this average running game again. They all had really good yards per carry, but they just didn't seem to get enough carries because they fell behind too fast. But again, no real weapons. Doug Baldwin leading the way with 77 yards. Russell Wilson just looked average. He didn't have a great game.
No, and I think that last throw to try to get the touchdown, which would have required the 2-point conversion, the untimed down at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that was a badly thrown ball on Russell Wilson's part.
Yeah,
he's got to give the receiver a better chance to catch that. But the thing that's impressed me most throughout this game and this season, Phillip Rivers, who I have never been high on as a quarterback. 17 touchdowns, right? Actually, I think 19. I think he was 17 touchdowns going into this week, through 2 today. 3 interceptions thus far this year, which is...
That's not par for the course with him.
No, so him being able to...
keep possession of the ball,
it's massive for the Clippers. Yeah, snuck it in there.
The silver lining I can take away for the Seattle Seahawks, while their schedule is difficult coming up in the next for the next 8 games, they do have 5 of those 8 at home, and that is against the Packers, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Chiefs, and the Cardinals. They do get the 49ers, Panthers, and Rams on the road. Like you talked about, a lot of the teams in the NFC, vying for those wild card spots. A 9-7 team is going to have a hard time. But I mean, I'm looking at losses to probably the Rams and the Chiefs, no doubt, and then probably the Panthers. So at best, I'm really thinking 9-7 is probably where the Seattle Seahawks finish up.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough at 9-7. Maybe they sneak an extra win in there somehow, go 10-6.
They go 10-6. I think they're in, which would be great.
I don't know.
My wife's got to get in the playoffs.
Well, I know that she's going to buy you a bigger diamond, but I think with the North and the South as competitive as they are.
But see, the North being competitive it's all a competitive collective mediocrity, in my opinion. I mean, you have them all beating each other up. Realistically, I think that the best that anybody can really hope for in that division is 9-7. Unless the Bears really find a way to just pull away from the pack.
Yeah, and it's theoretically possible, but
no pun intended.
Yeah.
He's laughing over here. I'm like, what the fuck's he laughing at?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get it, the pack.
I don't know. I think the Vikings and the Bears going down the stretch are going to keep things very close. I think... I still think one of them can get in.
One North and one South team probably get the wild cards.
Yeah, and
fair enough.
I don't.
That leaves Philly or Washington out, which would be tough. It's gonna be tough. I mean, the NFC's got.
Yeah.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 potential playoff caliber teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see that.
So it's gonna be fun. Sorry, the Lions are not one of them.
Yeah.
But in fairness, neither are the Bucks.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go ahead and let him
go over the picks?
I don't think we did. And let him know how we stand. I know how I stand.
So this game, when we were picking, ended as a pick'em. Actually, it was a half-point line, which we made a pick'em, and that was
a weird one.
It got bet to a pick'em. Both of you were on the wrong side of it, taking Seattle. I not only took the Clippers in this one, I made it my blind bet, so I got the extra point for that one.
Fair enough. All right, let's move to the game of the week, which, ironically, I did not watch a single snap of this game, so I will be honest. I kind of passed out. So did anybody watch this game?
I watched bits and pieces of it, but yeah.
I feel like a non-true football fan that I didn't watch the game of the week, but it turned out to be. I mean,
I was more watching it for fantasy purposes, but
let's go over the picks in this game because I think this was a consensus pick for us.
Yeah, well, the last two games of the night were both consensus picks.
But we put prop bets on too.
Yes, so we had we were all on New Orleans plus the 2 points in this. Both of you actually made it your blind bet, so you both got the extra point for that. But we did make it a consensus pick. The prop bet on this one was Todd Gurley total yards at 88.5. And Token and I were both on the over for this one. Aaron went under, and I think he finished the day with 80 or 81 total yards. Whatever it was, Aaron
79.
He finished with 79 yards.
79,
what was the prop? 88?
88.5.
88.5.
Yeah. So that got you the extra point there. So you actually got 3 bonus points this week.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
That helps. I didn't get a lot of games right this week.
That gives you a total for the week of 1 point.
That'll work. I'm so glad we implemented props. Offense all around. I mean, Goff threw for 391 and 3 touchdowns. Breeze threw for 346 and 4 touchdowns. Kamara's up to his old usual antics, 3 more touchdowns, and what did he have? 116 yards of total offense. Yeah. Even with Mark Ingram coming back, it seems like he has just taken such a backseat to Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, you're right about that, which is kind of odd for this two-headed monster of the running game of the Saints.
Yeah, actually, Gurley dropped a open screen pass that probably would have pushed him over your all's total. So.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Todd. You don't care about fantasy stats, so I faded you. Not really. You can't really feel bummed if you're the Rams. I know you're not undefeated anymore, but and I hate the notion of it's good to lose now. I mean, it's never good to lose, but
no.
At least it was on the road to a team that you probably will see again in the playoffs. And like I said, you just can't feel too bad about this game.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, big stud in this game, I think, is Michael Thomas, though. 12 receptions, 211 yards.
Yeah, I mean 72 on that put away.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I saw on the recap when he pulled out the flip phone.
Yep.
As the homage to Joe Horn.
Yeah, that was 15 years ago. They were saying.
God, I'm old.
Yeah.
15 years ago, that would have made me 16 at the time that happened, and I feel like I was older when that happened. God, that's just weird.
Yeah.
If you can dance all day, I'm going to dance about how you're so old.
I remember the T.O. when he pulled out the pen and autographed the ball and all that.
And if that makes you feel old, he's 3 years younger than me.
That's great.
I didn't watch it, so I don't really have a lot to say.
Yeah, it was like Big 12 football. It was just, Matador defense and just yards everywhere. I think there was 1,100 yards of total offense, air and ground combined between these two teams. Just an unbelievable, high scoring, almost like CFL type game.
Yeah. Well, like I said, these two teams, more than likely, if they keep playing the way they are going to meet up at some point.
Yeah.
Because they're probably setting up for the 1 and 2 seeds at this point. So
probably meet up in the NFC Championship if they do meet up.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, let's move into the Sunday night game. And how did we do on this one? Patriots 31, Packers 17. Patriots moved to 7-2, 5-0 at home, which is exciting. And the Packers moved to 3-4-1. All of their losses are on the road.
Yeah, and this was a game when we picked. It was 5.5. Line got bet down to 5. Total was, I think, 57 or 57.5 when we were picking. It got bet down to 56, and the under came in on
Pretty
this
easily.
one. But this was another consensus pick. We were all on New England minus the 5.5. And we did have a prop bet on this to try to guess plus or minus 3 yards Aaron Rodgers' total passing yards. None of us came within, I think, 10 or 11 yards in this one, so it didn't matter. But
what did we guess? Because he had 259.
Yeah, 259. Token guessed 248. Aaron, you were at 294. I guessed 303. So
yeah, we were not close.
No.
Token was halfway close. He was within a
within 11.
with an incomplete pass of being right.
I figured that it was just going to, Rodgers was going to put up a ton of yards. New England still should be able to win, and they did, but I figured Rodgers was going to have a better day than he did, and he didn't have a bad day at all.
And not to make a Week 9 regular season the be-all, end-all debate, because it's not, because football is the ultimate team sport, but it really felt like this game was never out of control, even when they were shut down on 4th and goal from the 1.
Oh, yeah.
And I still on Twitter just saw everybody just defending Rodgers. I mean, and the thing is, they're like, well, he doesn't have an offense. But I'm sitting here thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, but Brady and Manning are two of the best quarterbacks of all time, whatever your stance is. And they're two of the best quarterbacks at walking up to a line and switching the play. Mm-hmm. So if Rodgers wants to be considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, how does he not have that in his skill set like other greats?
I will give Rodgers credits in this one.
I'm not trying to disrespect Rodgers. Yeah. He's talented as hell.
But two plays, they did a quick snap because New England had too many men in the field.
I saw the one. I don't remember the second one.
It was earlier than probably the one that you're thinking about.
Okay. I'm thinking about the one. Either way. The point being is, yeah, he's the master of that. But my point being is that I just feel like, he has such a contentious issue with Mike McCarthy. You would think he would then even more so take it upon himself to call his own plays.
Yeah, it seems like he should be able to do that more and more, and I don't know if that's his inability to do it or McCarthy not allowing him to do it.
You going to bench Aaron Rodgers if he switches a play on you?
I'd
love to see a bench a $35 million quarterback.
Yeah, you can bluster and say that you're going to, but it takes Rodgers actually doing it in order for
it just seems like there's excuse after excuses why somehow Aaron Rodgers is still better. I mean, without even mentioning 5 rings to 1 ring, it just seems like there's always some excuse why Aaron Rodgers is better. And the thing is if you're great, I mean, how many excuses do you make for Tom Brady? None.
Yeah, none.
If he has a bad game, everybody jumps on him. You just don't make it. He had a bad game.
Yeah.
But every game is like, oh, Rodgers didn't have this. He didn't have this. He didn't have that. Mike McCarthy does this. The defense does that. It's like, dude, at some point, I mean, I'm not calling Aaron Rodgers, a scrub, but, dude, take some accountability.
Yeah. I think my biggest concern coming out of this game is the fact that I've never liked Green Bay's running game, and it didn't look like New England's defense could stop Green Bay's running attack at all.
Right.
The fact that they were able to hold Green Bay to 17 points, in total, I think, speaks volumes about what New England is starting to do. It took a couple of weeks for the offense to gel. Maybe it took a little bit longer for the defense to gel, but holding Rodgers to 17, I think, is a big, big get for this.
It's got to feel good for the defense.
Defense, yeah.
And the fact that Cordero Patterson, leading rusher again, 11 carries, 61 yards. You got a receiver averaging 5.5 yards a carry on double-digit carries. I mean, it's amazing when they're just like, you know what, plug and. It's the true definition of plug and play.
Yeah, I think that was a good move by New England, creating some depth on their running attack too. So
I'm kind of excited because when we recorded last podcast, I was actually going to make my bold prediction. Brady becomes a 1,000-yard rusher in his career.
Oh.
And he actually lost a yard.
Yeah.
5 carries minus 1 yard. So now he needs 4 yards to become an all-time leader. Maybe I'll make that prediction next week.
All right.
You took what I was thinking.
Positivity for the Packers. They may have picked up another pretty stud receiver. I've watched the last couple of weeks, this Valdez-Scantling guy. Tall, lanky, been able to jump up for balls. Again, not much to really be positive, but I think that taking that away, he had 3 catches for 101 yards tonight. And for as much as it pains me to ever have to give praise to a University of South Florida receiver, or University of South Florida anybody, he's looking like he could be a future nice compliment to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, problem moving forward with Green Bay, if you are a Packers fan, they've got to catch the ball. They have a lot of drop passes in my mind.
Yeah, but is that the fault of the receivers, or is that the fault of Aaron Rodgers trying to throw it through his receiver's body?
He had a couple of bad passes tonight. I saw behind receivers, but so did Brady, too.
I think Rodgers, him throwing it where only his guys can get it, sometimes gets him in trouble.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
All right, well, that will wrap up our recap on week number 9 in the NFL. Let's look at the scores, because I'm sure Spike is chomping at the bit to tell us.
Yes. So for this week, Token decided to go 2 under par, which is not always great. Aaron put up the big single point. I finished the week with a 10-point week.
Oh, boy.
With the Monday night game.
Is that the best week of anybody?
No, I think you put up 10 points last
Exactly.
week.
Exactly. So calm down.
Yeah.
Calm your tits.
So the new scores are...
New scores are, I'm still in last place, but I've moved up quite a bit. I have 9 points right now.
Out of the hole.
Token, you have 21, and Aaron...
27?
27 points. Tripled me up right
Got a triple burger on you. All right, well, you wanted to look at ahead to next week and a couple of matchups. Which game did you say had a big spread on it?
So the one I was looking at, the one that I mentioned on the air was that the Rams hosting the Seahawks opened at 11.5-point favorite. It's already been moved to 10 points, but that was not the reason I was laughing. I was laughing at the opening line for Kansas City, Arizona.
17.
Close. Token?
Oh, I already looked at it.
Oh, did
so
you?
I already know.
Yeah. So it opened at 18.5, and it has already moved to 16.5. So
Keep betting it down, because I think Kansas City is going to slaughter them.
Oh yeah, it's going to be
I like the over as well.
bloodbath. Oh, it's going to be Kansas City hits the over by themselves.
What's the over? 58?
50 right now.
50.
Yeah.
50. How does Kansas City put up?
Less than 45.
Yeah, I mean, what has Arizona done to make you think that that's not going to happen?
What's the spread right now? 16, you said? Current live?
16.5, yeah.
That feels like something I'd be putting in my 14-point teaser next week. Kansas City, -2.
What does that pay? About 1 to 8?
A 14 point?
Yeah.
No, it's 1 to 2. It's -200 odds.
For
That's
a
it?
four-teamer.
You got to hit all 4 teams.
4.
though.
Okay, yeah, all right.
But you could do totals as well and all that.
Yeah, you can do whatever bet you want, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't do teasers, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting games, a lot of division games. Detroit and Chicago, Jacksonville, Indy, Buffalo, New York, LA at Oakland. So Seattle, Los Angeles, and there's it's movement in the next couple of weeks, because, like I said, these are the kind of the meat and potatoes of where teams start distancing themselves from each other.
And a horrible Monday night game.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't even
yeah.
see that.
Wow, even the Sunday night game is not going to be thrilling, I don't think.
That'll be much better, though.
It'd be much better than the Monday night game.
Oh, absolutely, but it's still not gonna be
ESPN's
great.
probably looking at they're getting into their meeting for next week, and they're like, oh fuck, how do we hype this up? The only thing they have is Mullins and Barkley.
Let's put on bowling or something instead.
Well, they do have currently, let's see, second lowest. Let's say, as of right now, I'm looking on ESPN, they obviously have ticket sale options. The matchup between New York and San Francisco has tickets as low as $18.
Oh my God!
I'm sure they love to see that when they have that new stadium.
What's
They have
lowest
the
on there?
fun. Jacksonville at Indianapolis,
okay.
$16.
Ooh.
My other guess would have been maybe the Jets, but
Jets in New York is $38.
I figure it'd be a little inflated because it's just outside of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Buffalo fans probably make the trip over there.
Yeah.
Bills Mafia, throw some dildos on the field. So
Hey, they're just teaching their quarterback how to throw.
there you go. That's exactly. So speaking of a couple shitty teams, Spike texted me that the Cardinals released Sam Bradford.
Yep. Is that the end of Sam Bradford in the NFL, do you think?
It's got to be, right? I mean, I would imagine this was his only offer this year.
Oh, I would
He
have
got a $20 million deal. I don't know what they're prorating it as, because he only played half a season. But even if they prorate it for half a season, I think he still made 10.
Yeah, I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He tries to go out there no matter what, and he always seems to find a way to get hurt or something. I mean,
If you're Buffalo, do you look at him?
No. If you're starting Nathan Peterman consistently, just go with it. If you're actually trying to tank. He made $127 million in his career, in his 10-year career.
Wow.
it's pretty damn good for him.
That's pretty damn good for anybody. A 10-year guy who had an average career in the league not making $127 million.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So the Monday night game is probably going on right now. Not probably, it is going on right now. Since we record this on Sunday, let's just say it's the end of the first quarter. How do you think Amari Cooper's been infiltrated in this game right now so far?
2 receptions, 30 yards.
I will guess no receptions, 1 target that is underthrown.
Damn, I was going to say no receptions and like 3 targets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not thinking he's going to be super effective, but I think they're going to force it based on everything Linehan and Garrett have said. And probably the big boss up north, Jerry Jones, probably said, you better get this fucker incorporated in the offense quick. I mean, they've had 2 weeks to do it. But
yeah, I just think first quarter, I don't want to say first quarter jitters, but
yeah.
It's going to take a little bit of game action for him and Prescott to gel.
To click on the same page, yeah.
Yeah, so I think by second, maybe third quarter, he gets his first actual reception, and then he becomes a legitimate part of the offense.
You know what I have noticed, and I mean, again, I don't remember every single game, but what I really haven't noticed after the catch rule's been implemented and a lot of the new rules are here, we haven't had very many, if any, controversial games. Like last year, the Jesse James play with against New England. You have, obviously, but you can go all the way back to Calvin Johnson. I can't think of a game that's had such a controversial play. Maybe the Clay Matthews roughing the passer penalty against the Vikings that led to the tie, but it's hard to think about. I mean, it used to feel like every week we had something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the NFL is kind of trying to get away with. And they already got the negative publicity about other things, the CTE and stuff, but it felt like every week the NFL was so just painted in a bad light. I don't feel like that's here anymore. We're celebrating Rodgers-Brady matchups. We're celebrating, 8-0 versus 7-1. There's not. I mean, in a big game like that, it used to feel like in the Rams Saints there would be a controversial play we'd talk about for 3-4 days before the next week's slate of games. I don't feel like we've had that a lot lately.
I think you're right, because even that's a good example. The Chargers and Seahawks game today, the pass interference in the end zone at the end of the game that led to the Seattle untimed down, a legitimate call, and it wasn't something that people are going to jump all over. There were a couple of weird calls in the Green Bay New England the Sunday night game, but nothing that would cause people to start saying that the game was rigged or.
Well, that guy getting kicked out. I mean, whether you want to call that a punch or not, I mean, he attacked. And I know that's a strong word. He attacked the Patriot guy. I mean, what's his name? Whitehead attacked the guy. I mean, attacked Andrews.
Yeah, that was strange because but to the refs' credit, they got together and they talked about it for a while, presumably to decide whether or not it was warranting an injection.
Yeah.
And by the way, just very quick side note, it always cracks me up when the NFL never actually says a player is ejected. They say the player is disqualified
from the game.
Yeah. I don't know why that wording always.
I think it's just our nature now, our political correct society. Yeah, he is disqualified from the game. Instead of saying ejected, it feels like they're just like like cartoons when you used to throw the guy out the door.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only controversial play this year that I could think of is the one that affected your total, the Chargers-Browns game.
Oh, the first half.
Oh, yeah. That, but even then, they were very sneaky about firing the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even that, it wasn't so big to affect the outcome of the game as a whole.
Yeah, as a whole, yeah.
That's true.
It just affected my betting in the first half.
Yeah.
And I should have another point in our season-long contest.
Yeah, so if you lose this contest by a point, then we're gonna.
He'll let me off the hook.
We'll blame the.
We'll play a poker tournament.
We'll blame that motherfucker who was referee in the Chargers.
We'll make the ref pay for your entry fee.
We'll have to get a hold of that guy on Twitter or something. Yeah. Still waiting on Mark Sanchez to get a hold of him, get us back.
I thought Des was going to get him on here.
Yeah, she tried, but it didn't work.
All right.
Got a couple minutes left in the episode. I just want to bring up this article I just opened up here. It says, the sportsbooks lose nationwide big on Week 9 Sunday slate. According to ESPN staff writer David Perdue, Nevada state sportsbooks are estimated to lose in the range of $7 to $10 million on Sunday.
Oof.
You buy it?
Yeah, I mean, if
Spike had a good week.
If I had a good week, I stole my line, but you were right on.
Everybody must have been fading me, you, Aaron. So
A lot of heavy action on the Vikings, Steelers, and Chiefs, which were the three most heavily bet favorites on the board on Sunday. But New Jersey is expected to lose somewhere in the realm of $2.5 to $3 million. And they say it's the third straight subpar weekend for the books, but Sunday was in a class by itself. It felt like when the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2011, they took the most lopsided bath back then. That was the most lopsided bath in the last 25 years for the books until today's handle was pretty close to it. So, do you believe that? Do you believe that the spreads are going to start being affected more towards the end of the year in an attempt to not only combat this, but it's just, I don't know, three straight subpar weeks. Sometimes the books, are they going to get more conservative or more dangerous, you think? Or more like daring?
Ooh.
I think they get a little more daring with some of the lines, make them almost right around those key numbers where they would probably put more towards about 2 points away, just to try and get some of those equal actions.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get conservative or daring, but I think they're going to be significantly more willing to move lines midweek and take less action to move a line to get it to get more money on either side.
Well, Nevada is reporting that in the month of October they stand to lose about $20.4 million.
Oof.
However, that combats with Nevada's sportsbooks winning an all-time high in the 2000s in September of $57.6 million. So, funny, the book still kind of finds a way to win.
Yeah. It's almost like they don't want you to win.
Yeah, weird. Kind of weird shit, huh?
They don't mind giving up a little here and there, but...
So, all right, I'm going to do something we never do.
Uh-oh.
And we're actually going to talk about this week's Thursday night game. And we're not going to make a prediction on it as far as the score spread against the total. But I think we should have a bold prediction on the game, Carolina at Pittsburgh. Somebody's stats. What should we do? We should throw out a stat for 1 point. Or throw out a score or what's going to happen. What do you guys think?
Okay. I mean, I'm good with that. I just got to think of something that's worthwhile to say here.
I would say let's look at Ben and Cam's total passing yards.
Ooh.
Over under 375
Total?
Yeah.
I would take the over.
I'll take the under.
I'll take the over.
375?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
And you want to do another one? James Conner rushing yards.
Okay. Somebody else had a line.
64.5.
That was way too low.
Maybe. I was actually okay. I don't want to give my. What do you think?
No, if you want 64.5, I'm gladly take the over.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over on that one too.
I would take the over too, but I mean,
no, that's not fun. That's the consensus.
No, 60. I think 64.
Let's predict the final score within a point either way.
All right.
no.
The final total points. So what is the line on that game? Anybody
50.
know?
50?
Okay, I'm gonna say. The final total score is going to be 44, with a plus or minus a point.
I will say 48.
I will say 51.
All right, good, because then you guys can hit each other. No, you can't.
No,
you can't. Nobody can hit each other, so that's good. All right, cool. Well, that was ill-prepared and really kind of weird as it came out, but
Yeah.
a couple of bonus points.
We've
I'm
never
feeling
done
a
anything on a
27-24 game, something around there.
Yeah, we've never done anything on a Thursday night game. So.
I feel like I got an email from Thursday Night Football. They felt like they were left out, so we put them in one of our podcasts.
All right. Yeah, I could throw him a bone every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. So nobody really watches them, so I figure now they have incentive. Hey, Spike got it wrong.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up our NFL recap show here on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. We appreciate you listening in. We want to thank our sponsors, obviously 12 Ounce Sports. We want to thank VGK Pop Sockets, and we want to thank ChaiPoker.com. Give you a quick update on their charity tournament here, as we've got a couple minutes left in the podcast. It is December 1st at the South Point Hotel and Casino. It is a 120 plus 10 for a total of $130 buy-in. Half of that will go to charity, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southern Nevada, to create a scholarship fund for them. What's he doing? Is he part of the Boys and Girls Clubs?
I have no idea.
No, I gave you a thumbs up because you actually said it right.
Oh, because I didn't say Central Nevada?
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Not only do I want to thank our sponsors, I also want to thank Token Tony for taking time out of his busy day to watch football today. All three quarters of it.
Well, being a Lions fan's tough, so.
Yeah, you probably got better productivity sleeping through the game.
I actually watched part of that one, unfortunately.
Really? Because when we said, hey, you forgot to set your lineup, you made no text.
Yeah. I was already in suicide watch then.
So, anyways, for Spike, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening in. We will catch you midweek. The next podcast on 12 on Sports will come out on Thursday. So, again, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.